Hello, everyone on the recording. All right, let's do a quick introduction of the puzzle. So this was the March monthly puzzle. The Yeah, you have these two inputs, zirconium and rhodium, and you have to put the zirconium in the middle, bond everything together. This would be very easy if not for the quantum walls blocking all sorts of stuff. So you can't just move this to the side and move it into the output. You have to do some sort of weird rearranging along the way in order to make everything work. We're going to see people did some different things for that. But all right, let's get started with Yellow Bunny. Oh, and this puzzle is a purely is a symbols puzzle with a cycle tiebreak. So, all right. Yeah, so Yellow Bunny has our first solution. So this, let's see, I don't remember exactly how this goes about it, but we'll see a couple things that we're going to be seeing a lot more of. The first thing we see is we put the zirconium in the middle. I think the best way to think about this is yeah, this is almost necessary. I say almost with an asterisk. We'll see one thing later, but almost necessary. And the reason is you can think about, if you think about these quantum tunnels as sort of a like list. Once everything is inputted, both the rhodium and the zirconium, there's no way to change the order of these atoms in this list. So if we're thinking of it spiraling outward, you can see like this atom would be the first in the list, and this is the second, then this is the third, and this is the fourth, and this is the fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth. And there's only, if you like look at what arrangements you can make for the output, there's only like there's certain arrangements that you can't do and certain others you can. Um, and the most straightforward one is having zirconium in the middle and trying to shift things along. So let's see how going about that. So we first move the zirconium into the middle. We start moving things along. We do this sort of grab drop loop on blue. Sort of slowly move things up. I don't know the exact purpose of this thing with red to shift around, but I'm sure there's some reason it's needed. It's probably an issue with bonding or something. But we shift along and move all the atoms into place, and then output. Yeah, prevent a bond, Yellow Bunny says. Greenfield asks, so the walls only block the atoms movement, not the bonds or Waldos? Yes, that's correct. So you can move freely through them, but yeah. Atoms cannot go through. So you have to do some sort of debonding or rebonding in order to make everything work. But all right. So yeah, this is sort of a one sort of paradigm that's kind of straightforward. You have sort of like one Waldo goes doing stuff for a bit, then you shift to the other Waldo. We'll see other people do that. Greenfield says, "Oh, that's rough." Yeah, yeah. Yellow Bunny says, "Not enough plus minus bonders." Oh, okay, interesting. Yeah, you do use a lot, so makes sense. But let's see. Yeah, I see. So Yellow Bunny's what he was getting at is that there's he'd like to leave the atom here, but he doesn't have a plus minus bonder in order to remove bonds added between these two. There's only 8. So you can see there's 3 bonder types in this puzzle. There's normal bonders, which do both bond and minus commands, and there's minus bonders, and then there's plus bonders that and minus bonders only support minus bonds, plus bonders only support plus bonds. You have 8 of each. And if you have a plus minus bonder and you have like a plus bonder next to it, it can still create a bond there, but it can't remove a bond. It's actually kind of a useful interaction, but I don't know if it was used a crazy amount among the solutions, but maybe I'm forgetting. So yeah, we sort of put everything into place. We had to move this so that when we do this minus bond, we don't already have a bond here. Because if we already had a bond here, this wouldn't do anything, and then this would add a second bond. So I guess that's why that's necessary. But yeah, this is a nice, yeah, a good point to start off with. We'll see how a lot of people try to simplify this. As you can see, there's sort of a lot of special casing that has to be dealt with, for instance, with this atom. And in general, it's usually nice to have your Waldos kind of work together a little more, but that's always a difficult thing to do. All right, let's run this through. It's a starting thing, so 80 symbols, 4,000 cycles. And let's now look at Pre's solution. Intrusive thought machine. All right, so this, yeah, let's let it run for a bit. So we can see that we start with the same thing. We have to move the zirconium all the way, or we move the zirconium all the way into the middle. Yeah, so that's kind of basically the whole purpose of the red Waldo. Then we tell, blue, you get started, and we start with the sort of main loop. So Pre has this pretty nice simplification of things. So we essentially are doing, yeah, we're doing something, yeah, pretty different from Yellow Bunny. Here we're doing this sort of do 3 at a time. The only issue is you'd like to do, you can see that Pre has these like flip-flops here. You would like to just go down and not have to have these flip-flops and just go grab minus and go through. The only issue is you can see that if you had 3 atoms here, right, where these rhodiums are, then you shift them up, then you add 3 more, then you shift those up and try to add 2. The issue you face is that you would have, when you're moving the 3 up here, you would crash into this wall right here. And so Pre deals with this by having this flip-flop counter in order to skip the first time and then do it on the remaining times. Right, Pre mentions one possible optimization I didn't do is to remove sinks entirely by putting input in blue's path. This way they would be synchronized by loop timings alone. Oh, yes. Okay, so yeah, because red is only really doing this grab, you could imagine that you could remove the sinks and just have sort of red repeatedly try to do this until blue is sort of ready. Sounds a little challenging with the timing because red is sort of really slow and blue would have to wait a while. But yes, that does sound reasonable. But yeah, this is a nice, yeah, a very nice solution. I think I think normally this would place higher, but this is kind of a competitive round, and it didn't help that specifically for this round, for context, I released the current scores, but not the solutions, a week early to see how it would motivate people to improve their solutions. And it seems like it motivated some people. But yeah, so I think it's probably a little more competitive because of that. So yeah, let's run this solution through. Yeah, and we can see it's sort of like Yellow Bunnies. We have this sort of thing where one Waldo does a bunch of stuff and then the other Waldo does a bunch of stuff. We sort of just go through. Run that through. 2,000 cycles and 46 symbols. So where to drop off. Yeah. Oh, yes. And yeah. Greenfield says, oh, the bonders work across walls. Yes. It would be impossible otherwise. Let's see. I will mention this symbol is unnecessary. You can see this from, like, if you think about every possible path going along these flip-flops, like the first time you go straight through, the second time you'll hit this flip-flop, and the third time you'll re-trigger this one, hit this, and then go across this. So you don't need a arrow there. That was probably like a remnant from having this at one point or something, but either way. Another thing, you can remove this sink and move the input over to here. So the thing is, it just doesn't matter if you have, this sort of has, adds an extra loop on red, but it doesn't otherwise change anything. So you just sort of do an empty loop over red afterwards until you wait on the sync. I think those were kind of the two optimizations I spotted, but maybe there's more. Either way, I think that's all I wanted to say about this solution. Guess we'll just run it through. And we'll see this this idea crop up multiple times from here. But yeah. Pre says, in my mind, it was superseded by removing sinks, so I didn't quite finish it. That's actually fair. I think it's kind of, I mean, honestly, it's a little, I don't think the sinks here are too bad. Like we're gonna see a lot of people use sinks. And it's very reasonable because you sort of have this weird gap where either you can add empty loops to blue, but it's a little, I think it's a little challenging on the timing, honestly. But anyways, let's keep moving forward. So on to anime with 43 symbols. So let's see what anime does here. So we can see, we're gonna see a very similar pattern of this this loop around the outside, and then we may see other stuff sort of added along to it. So blue is sort of doing an empty loop right now. And we move the zirconium into place, and then put the rhodium. Yeah, anime does something I found really nice to be. Oh, we didn't actually. Okay, I think in a previous iteration, you can see we have these 5 bonders here, and I think. Oh no, it will in future. Okay, never mind. I'll get back to it in a second. Okay, either way, we see something similar where we have these 3 sort of things in a row that we remove. The interesting thing here that's different than what we've seen so far is that we put the bonders along the top here. And the idea is, if you remember with what I was saying with Priya's solution, where we have to do this flip-flopping thing in order to deal with this special row at the top, because we need to do it late, anime deals with this by just shifting the whole thing to build it along the top. And if you build it along the top, it's fine to do the 3 at once. Specifically, yeah, we can see we're going to do all 3 moved into place at once rather than having to do this one late. And then we can just sort of shift everything along. So it's quite nice. And yeah, so yeah, as we've sort of seen, before we bond everything in, we remove all the bonds and then add everything back. And then we have it's sort of like what we've seen before, where a Waldo will the 2 Waldos kind of work independently. One will signal the start of the other. But yeah, and then because we build it to the right here, we do need to shift the molecule back over to the right, which is, yeah, it is kind of an unfortunate symbols loss there, because you have to, you lose a bit from doing that. Red then moves everything back into place, and blue sort of continues doing some empty loops. Okay, yeah, so here's where a really nice thing that anime does here. We see actually, okay, this second bond plus, because anime bonds all 4 of the things here, and because zirconium specifically has a maximum bond count of 4, Hitting the second bond plus does nothing. It just it leaves everything the same. I know like when I saw this, I was kind of confused by this layout, but it's actually it's really smart, and it's a nice way to simplify things. Um, but yeah, so this is a really nice solution by Anime. Shift everything over, atom by atom, um, design everything. So yeah. I think kind of the unfortunate things you can see like where this kind of it does kind of seem like I would say from a glance it seems like more is going on with Bree's solution. I think one of the really heavy losses here is that because you're instead of building up because you're building to the side you have to do sort of two arrows. So you have to do like two turns as you go along. Um, Rather, so because like each of these paths for the three atoms has to be entirely independent, or it has to be like largely independent. So you have to kind of add more arrows to deal with this shifting around each of these corners, whereas otherwise you could merge them immediately, which is kind of an unfortunate loss. And the other big thing is that you have to go to the right here. Red's kind of doesn't Red kind of doesn't want to go up and to the right, and so you kind of have to force it. Uh, but it's still a very nice solution. Um, so, all right, let's move on to, I'm going to say Davicki, but I'm not really sure if that's correct. With final submission V7, a lot of final submissions. Um, and oh, this is actually Davicki's first submission to the tournament or to the monthly puzzles. So, congrats on doing quite well for your first time, and I hope to see you around on future rounds. But all right, let's see what Davicki does. You can see something similar to what we've seen before, where we have sort of one Waldo to the atom, and then nothing really happening after. All right, so we do this first minus bond, and this, so this kind of serves, yeah, so this deals with just getting the zirconium in place. Just because of how we have everything in place, we need to remove bonds first in order to prevent overbonding. And then we shift everything to the right. And we'll see we do something really interesting. What we do is in order to deal with the offset of the third atom, we do something extremely simple. We just we do the bottom atom, then the middle atom, and then afterwards we just do the top atom. Or we shift everything up when we do the middle atom, and then we put the top atom into place. And this simple ordering change just makes everything work as is. It's really simple logic. And yeah, it just works beautifully. But yeah, I think this is kind of like a really nice refinement of we've seen before. It works very nicely. Yeah, I really like this solution. When I saw this, I actually spent some time working on an improvement to this that we'll actually see later. But yeah, we'll discuss that after we get through the main submissions. This idea is really nice. It's just very, very clean. All right, but otherwise somewhat similar to what we've seen before. We have, yeah, actually in both. Let's see. So in our previous submissions, we've kind of had a mix of who's dealing with the logic. So here, it's basically blue is dealing with the logic and red's not really doing as much. Yeah, here it's kind of both. Here it's kind of interesting. Yeah, blue's again, kind of like what we saw with Pre, not really doing all too much, just sort of mainly helping with shifting things, and then doing a little bit of bonding in specific situations. All right, let's run this through though. We see we've got 2000 cycles, 40 symbols. This is also reminding me to run anyways through, which was 3800 cycles. All right, let's move on to gggol. So gggol made this. I think he made this before while he was working on the puzzle or something, but he decided to go ahead and submit it. Um, so let's see what gggol does. So we can see a lot of this is going to look somewhat similar to what we've seen before. We move the atom into place. However, the sort of big change that gggol makes is that he has the sort of Waldo dealing with zirconium uh, do the deal with this uh, top atom. That's sort of the way he offsets it by having red sort of come in late. And this works quite nicely actually. So I think that the biggest things here is blue has quite a concise path. Most of the stuff you can see there's a repeated grab, which we've seen Davicki manages to get out of the repeated grab, but has to kind of pay for it with this minus and bond, or with this minus command specifically. And Anime also has two grabs and just shifts over. So gggol also does two grabs. But it's generally otherwise like blue is basically as concise as it can get. I mean, only the thing you could imagine really removing is the sink, but it's kind of necessary for the way that the puzzle is approached. And red's, I think, red's sort of managing of these flip-flops in order to do sort of the counter is just quite efficient. We can see like Davicki sort of spends a bit over here having to have these flip-flops, and I think it just works out. I think it just really works with the pathing that red has to take. But yeah, everything's sort of just very clean here. It's very nice. And we can run it through. We get 38 symbols and 2,000 cycles. I think this can actually be sped up a little bit, if I remember correctly. You can like shift this over and change the timing of the sinks. I think it like works, but it's not really a major improvement to the solution. But all right, on to, and gggol did mention that it was like not something a solution he'd specifically tried to optimize. He's just kind of putting it back together. But all right, on to Dariush's solution. I think it's lots of pointless running around. Okay, no, I don't remember what it says. Let me see if I can. Well, maybe Dariush does. Either way, something running around. Romantic metaphor. All right. So Dariush does. This is gonna look pretty similar to what we saw. I think with Davicki's solution, where we sort of offset one of the atoms. But other than that, the logic is significantly different. So let's give it a second for red to get through. So we input, then blue does this first. So you can see we do this minus bond in order to handle this. We do this. We also do this empty loop here at the bottom in order to have all this. All this work out. So the way this is generally, pause here. The sort of way this is working out is we get the middle atom, we get the bottom atom, we do the top, and then we do a blank loop on the bottom again. And then we sort of repeat from there. And this, first off, this pathing is quite nice. Dariush sort of condenses things by having these flip-flops. and having everything sort of merge in one line here. Uh, and the other sort of major improvement is shifting the logic to red. So rather than having blue do some like flip-flop counter on how many sort of columns it's gone through, red is instead the thing that deals with all the logic. It deals with when we need to do the input, when we need to do both inputs. And yeah, there's also some nice timing here that we can see if we go to this. So this is when this last sync occurs. Blue is timed to hit this minus and bond before getting around and doing the first loop. So that's actually the main reason why this sync is over here. Like it would, if not for that timing, it would be fine to do something like a sync up here. You might need to move the output command, but either way, that there should be. I think that you can like put the sync in other places otherwise, but it's specifically this timing that necessitates this putting here, and it does mean that you have this sort of wait while red is going to drop the zirconium, you just sort of have this wasted 3 syncs that just waste cycles. But this is a symbols puzzle, so wasting cycles is not a big deal. But all right, let's now run this through. It's quite nice approach. So yeah, 36 symbols, 4,000 cycles. And yeah, just a very clean approach to what we've seen before. Congratulations, Darius, for getting 3rd place. Darius says it could work without the blank loop. 2 leads to 3 leads to 1 for the same symbol count, but that requires an additional sync, 4 total instead of 3 total this way. Ah, yes. We'll actually get back to. We'll actually. Darius, I actually tried to improve something similar to this and found another way to get to 36 symbols with 4 syncs. But yes. So Darius says the 4th sync is eaten up by the 3 syncs when red is holding zirconium. I see. I think it's. I don't think that's really. Like, I don't think these wasted syncs are necessary for it. I think the fact that you time the 3rd one is like enough. Because you're doing. Well, I don't know. I trust you, honestly. I haven't thought about it hard enough. Either way. Yes, either way. In usually because of this kind of clean timing, we're able to get away with just doing 3 syncs here, which is what this is what we mean by the 3 syncs, because we're counting this flip-flop here makes us count to 3 syncs. But I think because I think blue is like fully finished when red goes here, so these like syncs when it's doing on a second path aren't necessarily needed, I don't think. I guess I think they're needed for timing, but either way. Quite nice. Let's see. All right, let's now move on to Tough Thought solution, navigating the maelstrom, which does something totally different than what we've seen before. So, well, not totally, but mostly different. We first moved the zirconium into place, as we kind of expect. But now, when we'll see we sort of remove this bond and tell blue to move along. And now, instead of doing this sort of grab each and drop it over, we move a stick of 3 all at once. And then we have to, or I guess we move 2 at once, and then we do this extra step to handle the 3rd atom. So we do this sort of weird shifting thing where we sort of shift lines across. And the general strategy for dealing with these bonds is we when we hit this, we do this minus command at the same time as to deal with the uh, bond already existing between these two atoms, and then we rebond everything. And that deals with everything. We can see we do get this triple bond because it's sort of the cost of us having one grab instead of two. Because of this long loop that Red does, and we just sort of happen to go over three minus commands, we're able to rebond everything. And that's that. So, yeah, Pre says, wow, this feels correct. I don't know how to explain it, but you know a good solution when you see it. Fair enough. But yeah, this is just sort of a very different algorithm than what we've seen from so far, where we do this shift, or we do this, we do three at a time, which is similar to what we've done before, but we're doing it in a totally different way. We're removing removing bonds. We're doing this sort of like interesting thing in the corner is I think the big improvement here, where we shift everything, sort of cut shift our three stick into shift our vertical stick into a horizontal stick. Okay, we got there. But yeah, and the major saving we can see immediately is that if we look at all of our previous solutions, we have to have these grabs here and these drops here, and we have to have these arrows here and these arrows here in order to merge everything together. And then we have to have logic that splits it apart. And all of that is sort of cut apart by just doing three at once. And there's some annoying special casing that has to be done here. We have to do this grab drop here. We also notice that there's a lot of, if we look at Dariush's solution, we have a total of 3 plus and minus commands. If we look at this solution, we have 4 immediately, but also each of these sinks is basically acting as like triggering minus and bond commands. Like if you didn't have these sinks here, it would. Their basically only purpose is to make red hit bond and minus commands. So you basically have 6 symbols that exist just to deal with sort of rebonding things, which is worse than what we've seen before. But we clearly make up for it with the removal of all the grab and drop commands. But yeah, this is a very nice solution. I think that this flip-flop back here to go over the minus command is definitely definitely nice. But yeah, I think I'll also mention it because it's relevant later. You can shift this here. So instead, well, actually, see, this actually kind of changes things. So, but it's a useful, because we'll see it later, I'm going to mention it here. Let's do a pause here. So the first time we sort of leave this down here and we pick it back up. The second time we go through, bond everything on the top, then move this up. And then the third time we go through and we don't have to bother grabbing and dropping. It would be fine if we did it, but we don't. And we just do the logic for inputting. Let's see. The thing is, you can also, as sort of it's not an important optimization, but we'll see it later. So in one of the fun solutions, is if we have this bonder here. So the first time we do have to do the same thing of grabbing and picking it up, but the second time we just sort of rebond, and this actual grab drop is unnecessary. And then the third time we finish the atom. So this doesn't change the solution. It runs the exact same. I should say the score of 34 symbols and 4,300 cycles. but it does technically save a bonder and also save one necessary loop on blue. Um, Greenfield asks, quick question, could you rotate a Deemer around the corner? So specifically, I think he's asking if you had like two and you tried to rotate it, um, and the Albany says no, so I guess that crashes. Pre says another way to think about this is that when there is no zirconium, red is a total no-op, so you can either unlink it from blue or use it this way. Yeah, yeah. So you can sort of use red to, or um, yeah, you can use red to help with hitting necessary like control commands, kind of like bond minus commands. And then blue sort of handles. So red is sort of the dummy Waldo, and blue is sort of doing the main handling and everything. But all right. Let's now move on to my solution. Shift top. So this is going to do something pretty similar to what we saw with Tufflot. Or, well, somewhat similar. In principle, it's similar. So we first, sort of the way we, in this specific solution, the way I deal with the offsetting of the top is I just, at the start, shift the top two atoms to the left. And then I'm just going to do like three atoms at a time. And that's sort of the idea behind this. So we're just going to do, yeah, these three sticks of three all at once. And then when everything's in place, we bonded output. The sort of immediate thing I think that's different than anything we've seen is there are no sinks in this solution. Everything is timed. And the reason this works, I think the first reason this works is that blue is just faster. Like if you look at something like Dariush's solution, it's very hard to get rid of sinks and have red do the main hand. Like in order for, if red's trying to do timing and logic, you need to have times where it skips over these input commands, because otherwise you're going to be inputting too much. And in order to do that, blue is kind of too slow. But because of this new sort of algorithm, we're able to make blue a lot faster. And we can make it fast enough to where it's sort of worthwhile not to do syncs. So I think that's kind of the first big thing here. But yeah, this is kind of a similar-esque algorithm to Tough Thought. The big, really, I'd say that, yeah, but, well, I don't know. There are similarities. I think, like, we'll see, yeah, we'll see a little bit more of Tough Thought's idea in one of the fun solutions, but, yeah, but yeah, this is sort of just works out pretty nicely. Like I'll mention I would like to do the same thing. I spent quite a while trying to find different arrangements for this, like what we do with this sort of right side. And I was really hoping I could sort of shift the top over and then do something nicer, because this sort of, you have to do this extra grab drop here at the very end in order to do the last handling, which is kind of inconvenient. It would be nice if everything was already bonded together here, but it was kind of, you just get some weird overbonding issues that I couldn't figure out how to handle without like a lot of symbols, and so, or like red helping a lot. But the problem is red and blue are kind of working pretty independently. Their timing is not really matching much, other than at like a few important parts. But yeah. Let's see. So yeah, I do want to mention, I think the kind of fundamental, I think the thing that really fundamentally makes this, like, improves this solution is the lack of sinks. So I'll actually move to the fun solution real quick. Okay, so this is another solution I made that uses, it's also Tough Thought's algorithm. This is actually one I made before the submission that you just saw. But you can see this is going to be very similar to Tough Thought's solution. So uh, I guess first off, I do these two grabs instead of just doing one and then having to deal with kind of extra commands. But I can, yeah, I do. Otherwise, I do the same thing with Tough Thought. But as I was sort of mentioning at the end, I shift this. I have red actually, the Waldo dealing with everything else. I have that shift this atom up. And then I have this timed minus command to do the same as Tough Thought. That was actually this specific solution was made after I saw Tough Thought's solution, and I think I think the only difference was I had like this, but you're able to fix that by changing the timing on red. So yeah, this is similar algorithm to Tough Thoughts, but everything is timed. Does all the same things, but we time everything. And that save of the sinks and just having red sort of deal with all the logic just seemed to kind of work better. So yeah, I think kind of the big thing here was the lack of sinks. Yellow Bunny says the start symbol facing left is cursed. Sorry, I just forgot to change it, I guess. Pre says, now that I've seen it, this puzzle makes for a deep and interesting cycles challenge. I honestly haven't played with cycles at all in this puzzle. Thanks, Tough Thought and Pre, for the congratulations. And then Tough Thought says, I think that with your improvement to my solution, 4 symbols can be saved from mine. Okay, I would like to see it. Yeah. Oh, with like the bonder improvement, is that like of removing the need to do that? Okay, cool. Well, either way, I thought if you make that, I'd love to see it. But yeah, all right. So that was the main set of solutions. Yeah, I spent a lot of time on this round. But I had my spring break, so that was the main reason why. But let's check out some of the fun solutions. I think they're all from me, but there are some other things that I think would be cool to show here. So let's start off with a one Waldo solution, because Yell Bunny didn't make one, and that was disappointing. I was really hoping that you would get there, and if I could see that, but it's okay. I covered for you this time. This is 43 symbols, and okay. I'm trying to think where to start with this solution. So this is going to use this algorithm that we saw right here, kind of the same as Tough Thought. But now we need to do things one Waldo. So instead of having red deal with this grab drop, we're going to need to have, or like instead of having like a different Waldo deal with this, we're going to have to sort of merge it all, which is going to be a mess, but it'll work. Yeah. Neil Bunny says, thanks for picking up my job when I was skill and time checked. No problem. No problem. But yeah, it was mainly the time checking for me. But it's really fun, honestly. I think doing these sort of like weird solutions really does like inspire some interesting thoughts. Like the inspiration for like what this like shifting over 3 atoms in like a stick at once was like from a weird idea that I'll show in one of the other fun solutions. But anyways, let's go through this. So there's going to be a bit going on. So let me think how best to explain this. So essentially, there's going to be kind of a few steps. The first big thing we're going to be doing is we're waiting for the zirconium to move into position. We're going to do a couple like wasted loops while we wait for that to happen. I'm also going to just go ahead and add a pause here because I think this will be convenient. So let's see. No, actually, I'll do one here. So basically, we have all this like stuff going on in the middle, and then eventually we get over and drop this. And for a while, we're just going to be swapping the zirconium back and forth between these spots until eventually we will sort of get through this main loop. So, like, I think the easiest way to think about this is we are not going to be doing anything until we go through this flip-flop. Once we pass through this flip-flop, we will sort of like accomplish moving zirconium forward a step. But until then, we are basically not doing anything. Okay, so now we've gone through that path. And now you'll notice instead of bouncing zirconium between these two spots, we're now going to be bouncing it forward. Or like we're always going to be carrying it forward. And sort of the way to think about, like, the way I was thinking about it is like essentially adding grab drops on this loop, all it does is mean that you have to go through this path once more. So like if you have a grab drop here, and this is very clear because you only go over each of these grab drops once. So like each time you have a grab drop, you want to go through like this path once more. But even when you add these flip-flops that go back and forth, so that we like pass over this and then go back, like whenever you go back, you'll pick up something and then you'll just bring it back. So you don't actually accomplish anything. Like it's basically the same as if you had like one grab drop on the loop. And so the counter here is specifically to deal with how many times do we need to like go over these two grab drops in order to get past everything. But okay, either way, yeah, so we have those these two loops. We're sort of continuing to not do anything. We finally move the zirconium into place. And then now, when we hit this flip-flop, the magic really starts. We just go ahead and deal with the input for this, because now we're at the point where we need it, or we'll need it in the future. And then we input, do an input beta. We do a bond here. It's kind of has actually two uses. And then, yeah, this grab drop is kind of, I had an earlier one Waldo solution that was like every tile taken not by symbols, but like by pathing. And it was this like grab drop mess that like I was getting stuck on. So the idea here is that this first time we just shift over. It doesn't really accomplish anything. But we'll see. So and now we're doing sort of the same thing we saw with Tough Thought. But instead of doing a minus and bond at the same time, we do just a minus and then a bond. And then we have extra bonds here, but we remove them on the way back. But now on the way back, the issue I was having was before, I used to like not have this grab drop. But I was having problems because I would hit this grab and then like there's, you need to hit this grab going on the right. It's kind of like the idea of shifting over and doing three stick at the same time. But then you're gonna carry this into the wall over here. And so the way I deal with this is by having this grab drop here so that I pick it up as I'm going to the right. Then I have this sort of flip-flop deal with that movement, and then I shift everything to the right. I then use this grab drop to actually, I use this grab drop to actually pick it up on the time back, and then we just do the same algorithm, finish it. And actually, very conveniently, this bond that we used at the very start also finishes the last bond for this, and then we output. So yeah, quote unquote straightforward. But it's kind of what we've seen with, it's kind of what we've seen before, but we have to do this a lot of bouncing back in order to do this on one line. But yeah, Yellow Bunny says very nice. Thank you. But yeah, that's one Waldo. I think yes. Yeah, we'll see the cycle count real quick. I don't think it's anything crazy at all. I think I was actually pretty happy because it gets technically with the metric, yeah, it's like barely over 10,000. So with the metric, the exact metric was cycles, or sorry, symbols plus cycles over 10,000. So if you had an egregiously high cycle count, it would be a problem. I think I actually like lost more significant metric from my like previous one Waldo solution due to cycle count. But here I keep it to 10,000, which means that like it doesn't affect anything. Priest says h3 flip-flop is maybe misplaced. Does it hurt to move it to h4? h3. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you could definitely do that. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, it's totally fine to move it there. Yeah, I think if I remember, you might be able to like, you might be able to remove a flip-flop from the counter here. But I tried it and it was like, getting annoying. Like I was having issues with this flip-flop and these like desyncing. So I just kind of gave up. Let's see. Yellow Bunny, could you also just have a right arrow on H2 instead of the H4 thing? A right arrow on H2? No, because I have to, like this needs to be every other, like this is a flip-flop counting every other time. So like the first time you go through it, it's like it doesn't trigger it, and the second time you actually hit it. So yeah. But all right. Let's see. Okay. I think. Oh yeah, we can look at this real quick. I tried making a symbol solution based on this Waldo thing. It actually gave a 36 symbol thing, so I thought I'd show that. And it's just red does the grab drop and blue does what we just saw. Because like the main thing that makes this whole one Waldo solution annoying is the fact that you need to do like this logic to go over here is really the annoying part. And so I just tried having red just do the grab drop and blue deal with everything else, and it gave something like actually surprisingly good. Still not the best, but either way. So yeah, it's the same sort of thing. I can't remember exactly why I have this flip block back. I think that's, I don't remember why that's necessary. I'm sure it's necessary, but might be, I don't remember. Okay, anyways. Oh, right, it's so that we don't hit the input command. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's so that half the time, like once we actually pick it up, we hit the input command and everything. But yeah, so this is pretty much the same thing, but red does the grab. And we just repeat. It's pretty similar to what we just saw, but actually using both Waldos. So kind of interesting. Insane, pay to win, boo, pay with your spring break. Yeah, not being serious, of course. Yeah. All right, but now we'll check out, yeah, two last things. So I guess, yeah, this is 36 symbols, 5,000 cycles. Okay, it's pretty rough. But I guess blue is doing a lot there. I then I tried. This is actually something I did early on. I'm kind of surprised no one did. Anyone try making a clockwise solution? Because like you don't have to go like counterclockwise around. You can go clockwise. It's a little weird. You have to change the ordering, and there's a lot of things that need to be like I think this algorithm is like not as good. Just because like there's a lot of things that like I'll kind of show all the special casing that has to be done, but like it is possible to do. So anyways, okay, I don't put zirconium in the middle first, and this is again this reasoning of like everything is sort of in an order, and the specific output I'm gonna make is gonna have the order around instead of being like zirconium and so like we can see this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Instead of having zirconium as like the fourth thing, we actually need it as the third thing for this solution. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I had kind of a messy uh, algorithm for doing this, but it just kind of managed to work. Yeah, so I kind of just like slowly move everything into place, and then red sort of does the main logic. You can see kind of the big thing that's really annoying. And yeah, so red sort of doing this logic, then it deals with these two atoms here. And moves everything into place. I guess let me try to go through it slower. So let's go from the moment that this input is hit. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is we're going to move this atom here, this atom here, this atom here, and then this one here, and then these three around here. So it is a total mess. I think the only reason it's like passable is that you can kind of reuse the loop that you're doing on zirconium to do a bunch of the like removal. Uh, and that was kind of what I was trying to do here. And help with like doing some of the grabbing and dropping. But yeah, so this kind of shifts everything along. Yeah, it's we're kind of slowly moving everything to place, and I found it easier to like work in these sort of doing sticks at a time. Like I think one of my kind of initial solutions had like these sort of like doing sticks at a time rather than like the grab drop of three that we've seen a lot of. But you can see actually so this here was actually what inspired like the three sticks. Was because when I was doing these two, I was like, wait, what if I just picked this up and like did this minus bond and then a plus bond? And then after I made this solution, I was like, wait, what if I just do that for three in a row? And that just fully works. And so that's kind of where I went to get to my main solution. Tough Thought says I did do a partly clockwise solution and it's 68 symbols and I gave up on it. Yeah, I gave up on clockwise after like after I worked on my like stick of three at a time because like I think this could be optimized like probably some. But like fundamentally, you're pretty limited by these like you have to grab it. Like there's a lot of special casing. Like so much has to be special cased, and it's just really it did not seem like convenient or nice at all. So that was kind of why I gave up on it. And it seems like yeah, that also did. Yellow Bunny. I drew out different output arrangements and where rhodium atoms would have to move for that before making my solution. Moving everything right seemed the easiest. Yeah. I mean, I agree. I agree that moving to the right was the easiest, but um, uh, yeah. Okay, it does sound like other people also tried this. Anyway, also says my idea and attempt was very similar to Tough Thought, but yes, I did try it. Okay, cool. Yeah. Either way, I thought I'd share that because I wasn't sure if other people had thought about it much. But either way, I don't think it's as competitive as the other solutions. And then as a final fun thing, I'll show I was playing with one of Devicky's earlier submissions. I guess well, I don't know if he'll watch this stream, but he's not here now. I probably won't spend too much time on this then. Either way, I tried improving it and I basically got to Darius's solution, but I'll go through it quickly because I thought it was kind of maybe it'll be insightful. So this was like a slightly cleaned up version of something Deviki submitted earlier. If you compare it to what he actually submitted, it's somewhat similar. I think he optimizes like one of these loops to use a flip-flop or something. So like you do this and then do a flip-flop. But I think otherwise it's pretty similar, and then like it fixes some of the priming. But either way, I took kind of what he had earlier, and I did sort of the same thing we saw with Darius of shifting the sinks over to the other Waldo. We did the same thing when removed the logic from red. And initially it didn't give me any improvement, but after like having some other changes, uh, improving how things were initialized, I think like this to here, I like remove an unnecessary symbol here, and like removed a bond command, I think. The big thing I do Darius to get 36 is when you're on this 3, so the way this is working based on what Tefiki was doing is you do like what you do the bottom, then the middle, then the top, and so you do bottom, middle, and then top. And I noticed that you have this like minus here. And it would be really convenient if you could time it so that red actually does it. Because it's like if red does the minus command, then like it does actually work if red can hit the minus command. It's just hard to like time and time. And that was like specifically what I worked on. So you can shift or you can make red significantly slower, move where the sink is, so that red is timed so that when so blue will hit the input, red will miss the grab, but will then hit the minus command needed. So you're actually able to run this with just one minus command and one bond command total. Whereas I think Deviki's submitted solution has like 4 total. But yeah, so without the pause, this is also 36 symbols. But either way, that's just when I was glancing at the Google solutions. All right. I think that's, let's see. Pre says, unrelated fun question. I don't know the answer. If you couldn't grab on A1, would this be playable? I think the answer is no immediately, but let's see. Because I immediately think it's no, but let me think about that. Okay, gut feeling was no. Let me actually think about this. So you need to make some catalyst to move everything. I think it's vaguely playable. I don't think it's immediately impossible, but it sounds because okay. So the only thing then you need to then first input rhodium as like a catalyst to pick up the zirconium. But because it's like if you look at our solutions, these atoms and yeah, so like these spaces in the there's a bunch of spaces that are totally unused once the algorithm gets going. So like specifically you could hide atoms in like any of this space. So you can make a catalyst. Yeah, so I think you could take one rhodium atom, bond onto the like pick it up, bond into the zirconium, move all the other rhodium as like garbage into this space. Like some of this would have to like go all the way around. Like it'd be terrible, but like theoretically. Um, put that as garbage there. The extra rhodium you use as a catalyst to like pick up the zirconium and move it over. You could just move it over one tile and then like drop off the rhodium somewhere in this space, then go back, pick up the zirconium, put it into place, then do this algorithm. I mean, I think it's possible, but it's really bad. Like I think because I don't know, I'm thinking because like what I have with my one Waldo can sort of manage a lot of what needs to be done. So I think this would be possible, but this sounds pretty. It's definitely pretty complicated. Um, Yeah. Uh, yeah, I think as kind of Yellow Bunny's saying, like storing the garbage seems pretty annoying, and also the handling of the catalyst to like move everything is just it's just a lot. Enigma, yes, I don't see how you can get atoms to the left of it. Um, the point is, yeah, you wouldn't. The all you would do, like, so, so the thing is, like, once you have the catalyst, you can move the zirconium into place. And then, so like the first input, like the input order would be like you input rhodium, that rhodium gets used as a catalyst. You use the catalyst to move the zirconium into place. Then you input uh, the new rhodium, do the output as usual. Then you move one of the catalyst items back or catalyst elements back, pick up a zirconium, move it into place, input a rhodium, do the same algorithm, repeat. Um, like I think that's the idea here. Yeah. And it says, ah, right. Yikes. Yes. Yikes indeed. I feel like because of what I like, because of what I was able to fit with one reactor on my thing, I feel like it's probably possible, but it just sounds hard. Uh, all right though. I think that's all for this puzzle. Oh yeah. Okay, I can talk about the next puzzle. So the April monthly is going to be. I'm gonna. It's gonna. I forgot to speak with Vicky about this ahead of time, but there was only one submission to the monthly puzzles, so by default, it went to the person who submitted, which was to Vicky. And his puzzle is leaky fume hood. So the puzzle is uh, the following. We're just going to see more quantum tunnels. Uh, but in this case, I believe the metric, let me check. Yeah, okay. So the metric for this puzzle is cycles over 10 plus symbols plus swap hits times 10. So this is going to be, I think, well, I'll let everyone interpret that. And I'll also like show everyone it in a bit. But I'll have to set it up with the bot. Usually I set it up ahead of time, but I kind of forgot. Um, so anyways, yeah, this will be the puzzle we'll be doing next time. Anybody that have anything they want to say about this week's puzzle? I think that's all I've got. Um, it's, um, just wait and see if anybody's got anything. Pre asks why? I think in reference to the new puzzle. Um, yeah, I guess more quantum puzzles. It'll be fun. And haven't thought about the puzzle too much, but it's kind of fun. So we'll see. Um, all right. I think I'll end the recording there. Thanks everyone who's watching. Oh wait. Goodbye.